In the July forum of Enfield Climate Action Forum, we invited Tanuja Pandit from Power Up North London to talk to us about community energy, engaging communities, and how we can tackle the heat and cold that the climate crisis will face us now and in the future. This is her presentation.
The brief that I'm seeking to speak to here is about the work that community groups like Power Up North London, Haringey Climate Forum, NCAF, and others are doing on the ground to support residents of Enfield. And I think this is interesting in the sense that it doesn't just apply to Enfield, it's actually a more generic thing, but there are some very specific examples here that apply to Enfield residents. And the context for what I'm about to say is very much the climate and ecological emergency that we are aware of. Certainly, people on this particular call are very aware of it. And of course, the cost of living crisis, which affects a lot of people. And we were talking about, skyrocketing energy prices, wages not keeping up with inflation, food prices going up. People are facing a whole host of issues that result in the cost of living crisis. And of course, overriding all that is the UK government's legal commitment to reach net zero by 2050. All of these come together and have implications for the work that we need to do to support residents to get there. And the context for this is what Francis was referring to earlier was a government grant that my community organization received late last year to do a study at the North Middlesex University Hospital to look for ways in which waste heat from their existing systems could be recovered and reused to save carbon, to save costs, etc. And this could be potentially part of a decarbonization plan. Well, we didn't know if these options, if there were sort of significant opportunities rather at the hospital, but we were looking into them. And we had a grant to do this, and we were working with the NCAF, with Haringey Climate Forum and others to deliver this. Um, what I also wanted to move on to talk about is this whole issue about how we can be healthy in our homes. What is a healthy temperature for a resident in a home in the UK? And there are lots and lots of homes that are so cold in the winter that people are at serious risk of health issues. And we've got the bit on the left talking about what happens at different temperatures. The World Health Organization says that the ideal home temperature is somewhere between 18 and 21 degrees centigrade. This, of course, varies a bit if you're young, if you're a very young child potentially, or if you're a vulnerable person with an illness. But in general, this is a reference range. But not many homes can achieve this in the winter, especially if they're struggling with very inefficient homes. And when we talk to people about the way they can be in their home and the temperature at which they can live healthily in their homes. We also talk to them about actions that they can take to control the energy use in their homes because we accept that, yes, there are lots of homes out there that are not very energy efficient, that are leaking like sieves, and that need help. But there are also actions that residents can take to maintain good health, to reduce energy use in the home, and to save energy and therefore their bills. So we talk to people about some of these simple measures, which are everyday measures in your home, but people may not be familiar with, what the room thermostat does, what a 1 degree centigrade shift in the temperature gauge on your room thermostat can do to the cost of your energy bill. And it's very significant. So these are all things that we can discuss with people and that are available to them. But you also need to know where your home energy goes in the first place. And this is another sort of interesting piece of information which has been simplified, but essentially 60 to 70% of the energy use in your home is for space heating in the winter. And that's where a lot of it is going in quantity terms. And then the remaining sort of 15 to 18%, but I've sort of done them in equal chunks here on the pie chart, is on hot water and the rest on lighting and appliances. So if you think about this in terms of what you need to do to reduce energy use, there it is. Those are the key areas where your energy goes in your home. And then another way to think about this is, what's happening with my energy bill? Do you understand your energy bills? And not many of us do. In fact, many of us don't look at
Anyways,
them.
yeah,
And they here's an example of a real energy bill with some of the kind of, I don't expect you to read this, but what it's pointing out is the kind of different areas that you need to look at to understand what's really happening with your energy bill and to check if you are being billed correctly for the energy that you're using. So this is another way in which residents can help themselves or can seek help to ensure that that they are, you know, on the right tariffs and not being overbilled for the energy that they use. This chart is actually quite interesting because what it says is that the small behavioral changes that we can make in our homes can actually have a significant impact on the cost of our energy. And on the left-hand side, and again, there's a kind of whole range of measures that the Energy Saving Trust has identified. On the right-hand side, there's the annual saving that you can make. Now, these numbers are actually not up to date with the most recent prices per kilowatt hour of electricity and gas, but you know, potentially these numbers could be high, but you can save, in summary, up to £500 a year through some of these measures. So it's worth thinking about the small changes that you can make to reduce energy use in the home. And then, of course, there is overheating, which is on a day like today, very easy to understand, but today is not going to be an exception. In fact, days like this could become the norm as we go forward. A lot of homes are dangerously overheating. And you can see here measures that people are taking. You know, the one with the blue, the mechanical sort of intervention, the barrier between the home and the heat just tells you that there are actually things that people can do, and there, some of these measures can be low cost. You don't have to spend a lot of money on putting a film on your windows or growing some plants on your balcony or, you know, putting some sort of curtains on the inside as a barrier to the heat. But others might be more expensive. But there is actually, and this comes under the category of adaptation. There is an overheating adaptation guide for homes that has some very useful information in it. And Francis has the link to it and can share it with people if that is of interest. But there are also lots of organizations, some of which we have listed here on the left, like the Red Cross, like Age UK, like the NHS, and so on, that can help you sort out overheating issues in your home if you're struggling with them. And then there's the whole issue that the gentleman was referring to earlier about a just transition, this whole issue of fuel poverty. And there are a lot of homes across the UK, actually 6.5 million, that are said to be in fuel poverty because they spend over 10% of their income on utility bills. And what you get classically with these sorts of households is that they live, if you're looking at that triangle on the bottom left, their homes are very poor in terms of energy efficiency. On the right-hand side, they're on low incomes, and at the top, they are paying a lot for their fuel bills. So that combination is a perfect storm and results in lots of homes being in fuel poverty. We're estimating that in Enfield, that figure is about 20,000 households. It may be a bit more or a bit less. But the impact of people living in these sorts of homes is, you know, there to be seen. Lots of physical impacts, respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases getting exacerbated, depression, and all of this has an impact on the overall health of those homes, on the health of our society, really, and has a cost to be paid by society, but of course also by the NHS. So there is advice and support. This is the good news. You know, there are lots of organizations that are out there trying to help you to deal with this. Enfield Voluntary Action is a local organization in your area. They've just received a very significant grant to train people to be energy ambassadors and to go out there and help people with the sorts of issues that I was discussing earlier. Shine is another organization. They can send people to make home visits to help you to make your home more energy efficient, and so on. And then, of course, there is the Greater London Authority that has, and there are some links here actually. So if this presentation is shared, you can click on those links. The Greater London Authority has lots of information on cost of living support for residents. The other area that is relevant in this discussion is about the work that can be done to make homes more energy efficient, but also to help people to install renewable energy in their homes, whether that's in the form of electrifying your heat through heat pumps or putting on solar panels or other measures that make your home a healthier home in the sense that it has a lower carbon footprint. Now, the Mayor of London has something called the Warmer Homes UK program, and there is funding available for eligible homes to make some of the changes that are listed there, as is something called the Eco4 energy efficiency scheme. Again, all of these schemes have eligibility criteria, and you need help to access them and to make these changes in your homes. But it's good to know that they are there, and then to reach out to organizations that can help you to do this. And finally, what I want to say was that the impact on vulnerable residents, on our people, on our societies, of people living in over or underheated homes cannot be underestimated. This is a really important issue, but we can all play our part. There are community organizations, there are council services, there are energy discounts that the government has put on the table. You have all, well, a lot of you will be aware of the U-turn that the government made on the winter fuel discount. There are grants available for home improvements, but all of these need to be accessed in a particular way. You need help to understand what's available. You can contact your local community organizations to access help. And importantly, you can also become an ambassador yourself